Hey Hammers fans, before we get started, make sure to drop a like, leave your comment, and subscribe to the channel. That way you won't miss any West Ham news. Mate, things are absolutely on fire at West Ham right now, and that's no exaggeration. A bombshell has dropped straight from inside the club, and it involves a potential $95 million injection in the upcoming January transfer window. Yes, £95 million. And the most surprising part? The claim comes from someone very close to David Sullivan, the club's majority owner. This is serious, and it could completely change the direction of the team at a time of pure turmoil. West Ham are living through a double crisis, on and off the pitch. In the Premier League, the team is stuck in the relegation zone, adrift from safety, and showing a level of performance that borders on desperation. 1 win in 10 games. That's right, 1 out of 10. To survive, the team would need to triple its current points rate and start winning 1 in every 3 matches until the end of the season. It's like trying to turn the Titanic with a paddle. And it's not just on the pitch where the nightmare continues. The club's financial situation is equally alarming. After a summer where West Ham did practically nothing in the transfer market, the board is now paying the price for its passivity. The squad is short, unbalanced, and Nuno Espirito Santo, the Portuguese manager trying to keep the ship afloat, seems to have run out of options. The team needed reinforcements in several areas: 2 young and pacey strikers, more creativity in midfield, solidity in defense, and better squad depth. But the club insisted that it could only buy after selling, and with few players of resale value, the summer passed with promises and little action. While rivals were spending fortunes and breaking Premier League investment records, West Ham were left behind, watching the tide sweep away their hopes of a strong start to the season. And now, with the team collapsing and the fans furious, the directors face pure tension. The club's financial accounts due in December are expected, by the board's own admission, to show record losses exceeding $100 million. That will throw the Hammers straight into the red under PSR, profitability, and sustainability rules, the Premier League's financial fair play framework. In other words, the club is balancing on a knife edge. It's precisely why West Ham are among the most vocal clubs calling for PSR to be scrapped altogether. Executives argue the rules restrict investment too heavily and make it impossible for mid-tier clubs to compete with the elite. But until anything changes, the reality remains brutal. The club's finances have become a nightmare, and fans are rapidly losing patience. Supporters can't understand how things got this bad. Not long ago, West Ham were in one of the brightest periods of their modern history: a European trophy, 3 consecutive seasons of continental competition, and the sale of Declan Rice for a clean $105 million profit. And yet, here they are, sinking into financial and sporting chaos. It's only natural that fans are angry, calling for ambitious new owners to step in and lead the club forward. But a change of ownership looks unlikely anytime soon. And even if new investors arrived, any takeover or restructuring would take months, maybe longer. So all eyes are on January, the last chance saloon for survival. The fear is that by the time it comes around, the team could already be too far gone to save. And that's where this extraordinary revelation comes in. According to journalist Sean Whetstone, a close ally of David Sullivan, there's a real chance the club could receive a $95 million cash injection this winter. Whetstone says that during the summer, a senior club source, believed to be Sullivan himself, told him something cryptic. "We'll inject funds if needed, allowed, or if it solves a problem." Well, the problem has arrived, and it's massive. Panic is spreading through the West Ham boardroom. Criticism of Sullivan, minority shareholder Daniel Kretinsky, and the rest of the hierarchy is intensifying. Many argue they could have invested more in the summer, but chose not to. Now, with the team on the brink, those same leaders seem ready to act, perhaps too late. Before we carry on, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. This is really important because it strengthens the Claret and Blue family, making our West Ham bigger and stronger every day. What's curious about all this is that it's happening just when West Ham seem to have finally found some stability. After years of being labeled the nearly club, they won a European title and looked firmly established among the country's most competitive sides. But that apparent solidity was a mirage. Behind the scenes, the club had been operating at its limit, spending everything, and sometimes more, just to stay competitive. When Declan Rice was sold, it looked like the start of a new era, a chance to rebuild with serious financial strength. Instead, that money disappeared in a haze of internal confusion, misplaced priorities, and poor decisions. David Sullivan, the central figure in this story, is a strong-willed businessman used to running the club like a poker table. High risks, bold plays, and little patience for opposition. He was the one who backed several big-name signings over the years, and the one who tightened the reins when the pandemic hit hard. But now, his leadership style is being tested like never before. West Ham seem to have become prisoners of their own management, of short-term decisions that delivered excitement but left no foundation for the future. Fans who once saw Sullivan as a savior after the European triumph now see him as the symbol of the chaos threatening to drag the club down. The relationship between Sullivan and Daniel Kretinsky has also become a talking point. Kretinsky, who bought a major stake in the club 4 years ago, seemed the perfect partner, discreet, financially solid, and respected across Europe. But reports suggest communication between the two key shareholders has deteriorated badly. Kretinsky, methodical and cautious, is said to have pushed for greater financial control, while Sullivan wanted quick, aggressive moves in the transfer market. That clash of styles may explain the paralysis that defined the summer window. Then comes Sean Whetstone, the journalist and Sullivan's longtime friend, who revealed the promise of a potential $95 million injection. He described the current situation as survival panic. In his words, the club are in deep relegation form, with Nuno seemingly powerless to fix the unbalanced squad. The message is clear. Time's up. If West Ham want to stay up, they must act now and decisively. According to Whetstone, this would be the first major injection of money since Kretinsky joined 4 years ago. Since then, there's been no substantial capital movement. The stark contrast with rivals whose owners pour in millions season after season. But even if the money does arrive, January is a brutal market. Inflated prices, tough negotiations, and few quality players available. It's like trying to extinguish a wildfire with a leaky bucket. The numbers make the crisis clearer. The last direct cash injection into West Ham came twice. First in 2020, when shareholders bought $30 million worth of shares to ease the pandemic hit. And again in 2021, when Kretinsky purchased 27% of the club for $125 million. Since then, nothing. Meanwhile, the club's losses have ballooned beyond $100 million and continue to grow. The PSR allows owners to cover some of those losses, but West Ham are now dangerously close to breaching that line. The threat isn't just sporting, it's institutional. That's why Sullivan's supposed promise now feels like a desperate final act. He knows that if the club go down, the damage will be immense, not just financially, but in reputation too. The Premier League is a golden stage, and falling out of it could mean years of recovery. So, if he must open the checkbook to survive, he will. The question is there still time? Before we carry on, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. This is really important because it strengthens the Claret and Blue family, making our West Ham bigger and stronger every day. Deep down, what hurts West Ham fans the most is knowing that all of this could have been avoided. After decades of highs and lows, flirtations with relegation and broken dreams, the club finally seemed to have a solid base to build on. The European trophy wasn't just silverware, it was redemption. It felt like the start of a new era, the moment when West Ham would stop being the eternal underdog and become a genuine Premier League force. But the castle started to crumble far too quickly. What remains now is the bitter sense that the club is once again trapped by promises, debts, and decisions made too late. David Sullivan and Daniel Kretinsky, each in his own way, embody two visions of the same dilemma. What does it really mean to own a modern football club? For Sullivan, West Ham is both a passion and a lifelong investment, a personal project driven by instinct and emotion. For Kretinsky, it's an asset, a business that must be protected through discipline and strategy, and while the two search for balance, the team on the pitch is falling apart. Nuno Espirito Santo, the coach who inherited this, unbalanced squad tries to fix the mess, but it's nearly impossible to build a competitive side when the foundations, financial and moral, are cracked. That's why the potential $95 million investment in January is more than just a financial move. It's a matter of survival. Even if the money arrives, though, it doesn't guarantee salvation. West Ham need more than signings. They need direction. The issue isn't only about who wears the shirt, but who makes the decisions behind it. In recent years, a clear pattern has emerged: panic-driven signings, poorly timed managerial changes, and a sporting policy that shifts every few months. The club that once prided itself on its working-class identity and strong academy roots now lives in the shadow of its administrative chaos. The supporters feel frustrated, disillusioned, and exhausted. How many times must West Ham start over again? In the stands and across social media, the tone has turned into an ultimatum. Many fans say that if the club go down, Sullivan and his board will never be forgiven. There's an increasing demand for new investors, people who bring not only money but a new vision. People ready to modernize the structure, rebuild the squad intelligently, and most of all, restore pride. But change like that doesn't happen overnight. For now, survival in the Premier League is the only thing that matters. That's what makes this alleged cash injection plan feel like a final gamble. According to Sean Whetstone, West Ham have a small window of opportunity before the Premier League's rules change. If PSR is revised, the club could lose the ability to spend beyond the current $105 million loss limit over 3 years. In other words, this might be their one and only chance to go all in, to spend, strengthen, and fight for survival. It's a race against time, against regulation, and against their own history. But investing now means betting everything on uncertainty. West Ham are near the bottom, low on morale, facing a brutal fixture list. Even with reinforcements, there's no guarantee the team will turn things around. And if they don't, the fall will be even harsher, with higher wages, inflated costs, and no Premier League income to sustain them. Inside the club, tension is sky high. One wrong decision could be catastrophic. Perhaps the most symbolic thing about all of this is that it captures the eternal West Ham dilemma, the fight between passion and pragmatism. The club thrives on emotion, but suffers from poor planning. It wins through heart, but loses through reason. That's why every crisis feels deeper than the last. The fans don't just want survival, they want belief. They want a vision, an identity, a sense of purpose beyond the balance sheet. They want West Ham to be West Ham again, a team brave enough to face giants and dream big. For now, all hope rests on that rumored $95 million, a number that sounds more like a cry for help, a final push to stay alive. If the money arrives and is used wisely, it could mean salvation. But if it turns out to be just another empty promise, the damage could be devastating. West Ham stand at a crossroads, and once again, David Sullivan is right at the center of it. The question is whether he'll choose the right path this time. So that's all for today, folks. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, leave a comment, share, and of course subscribe to the channel for more. Take care, and I'll see you next time.